I thought we would make a nursing tier list of specialties and offend some people. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, friends. What is the holiday season if we can't offend some people and make a nursing specialty tier list? This is going to be a very serious video. Okay. There's very serious. You should make all of your life plans based on this. And if you are the type to get your panties in a bunch, you should probably leave. Okay. We're going to be having good fun. It's going to be kind of like a game show. We're going to be going through, I think I have 19. I tried to have 20, but I didn't count right. Full transparency, nursing specialties that I got from you on the community tab and over on Instagram. And so we're going to rank them on a tier list. If you are not familiar with what a tier list is, all right, friends, this is a tier list. Basically, what this is, they're floating all around the internet. You list the best nursing specialties, which is S. I don't know why it's red. I just copied. I think this is a gamer. I don't even really know. I think maybe it's a gamer thing. S is best. Don't know why. And it's red, which is confusing. D is worst and it's green. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Anyway, that's not how my brain would do it, but that's how we do it. We place these in categories. Okay. We will be voting. I will be placing them because it's my channel, but you can vote. And we'll consider taking your input into consideration. And we will be just discussing the merits of nursing specialties and the demerits of other ones. We'll see which one loses. We'll go from here. Please know that this is, in case it's not very clear, because sometimes the internet, we struggle with sarcasm. Guys, you can be in whatever specialty you want. This is my list, okay? And it can be your list. We'll chat about it in the chat. This isn't very serious, okay? This is a fun week. We're doing this today to introduce the topic and just have a wee bit of a giggle. And then at the end of the week, during our normal group panel discussion, the fanny pack and I will be discussing why we chose our given specialties just as a good, fun, feel good week. Okay. We all need that. And Joshua Lenton, absolutely. Dangerous waters. Here we come. We are diving in. Hello, everyone who is in the chat. Welcome. Are we preparing for a winter storm? Yes, some people are. We're not getting snow. And I don't know how to tell my child about that. I don't know. So if you're watching on the replay, hello, welcome, replay people. We love you. Live people, we love you too. Do participate. Let us know how you would rank these. Again, S for some reason is best and red. D is the worst. So shall we begin? I thought we would. This is in no particular order. Okay. So here we begin with emergency medicine. Emergency medicine to me is an absolute nightmare. It is chaotic. You never know where your people, who's going to walk in the door. I feel like it's largely people coming in for very inappropriate things. Sir, the fact that you have a lot of earwax is not something you probably needed to come to the emergency room for. Or they're coming in and you're like, your ear is gone. What has happened to it? And that is not the type of excitement that I need in my life. So team, what do we think? S is yeah, that's a great nursing specialty. D is run for your life, my dude. Please run for your life. I'll give you a few more things that I think about the emergency room. Okay, yes, Montana Gal, short-staffed and dangerous. We do know that Montana Gal's ER, they don't even have triage. So I feel like we have to take that into special consideration. But I am leaning towards D. I won't lie. Belleville says D. S. Oh, good. Joshua Layton says S is for special. So there we go. That's why S is the best. I was going to say super. It's fine. Nurse Scott, I knew you would have opinions. Emergency is the best. If that's your thing, always a new challenge. Problem patients are gone within hours. But what if they aren't? What if they stay and then they come back? I don't like that you work with a ton of people either. I would imagine emergency departments are filled with many people. I like my same people. There were 80 something people on the unit I worked on last, and that was plenty. I cannot imagine how many there were in the emergency room because there were a lot more beds down there. It's a lot more people to know. 80 was a lot. And I worked night shift and pretty much exclusively weekends. So my pool of people was much smaller. I like to know my people. I like to know what I'm getting into. I like to get comfortable with a diagnosis. And I like to feel at ease. I like to know what I am expecting. Emergency room, you'd have no idea. You're going to see all sorts of things. No, thank you. Absolutely. No, thank you. We are going to firmly put emergency in D. Yes, everyone that agreed with me in D. Here we go. We're starting off very strong. It really depends on the nurse. Nurse Scott says some could work in the ER. I've had a hard time anywhere else. Yes. And in your tier list, it would probably be S. And I feel like Scott and I, our tier list would be completely backwards. Completely backwards. You love it or hate it. Absolutely. And B Shader said S. You're wrong, B Shader. It's D. Don't become an emergency room nurse. Okay. Don't do it. Remember, satire, my friends, satire. I need a somewhere in between. It depends voting option. That is this zone, BC. That's where we're kind of floating around. So if you aren't feeling super passionate, we can put it right there. Okay. So that's where we are. That's what we'll be doing as we go through all of this. Feel free to leave your opinions, your comments here as we go. Again, this will be interactive and hopefully a good time. If you like this type of thing, give it a like. Tell the YouTube gods you enjoy it. And yeah, that will be my Christmas present. Next, the opposite and the evil nemesis twin of the ER. We have the ICU. Canva did not have a good ICU picture. So we have this, can you see this weird little, it kind of has a bunch of like monitors. That's all we had. But it's fine. We'll just go with it. We have the ICU as the opposite cousin of the ER. Now the ICU, there's a lot more organization and structure in the ICU. They know how to manage their cords. Everything is labeled, very neat and tidy. But their people are unconscious. Like they like order to the level that people are too unpredictable. So they're like, you got to go to bed. You may not be awake. I don't like this. Similar, I would say, skill level in terms of terrifyingness to the ER, where like the ER people could walk in without an ear, and you have to know how to fix that, which is a high level of skill. ICU people are very good at keeping people alive. But again, and that's like a very niche and specialized skill. So if you're attention to detail focused, this is great. I like people in general. Well, that's a bold statement. I enjoy chatting with my patients, right? And so I think that this is a little bit harsh to just make everyone unconscious. They claim it is under the guise of like, this is best for the patient and this is going to keep them the healthiest and we need to let them rest. I think it's that they can't control the entire environment and they're like, boom, unconscious. We will talk more about this when we talk about the OR. But very smart, very, very smart. If we're being very honest, can be kind of catty and think that they're on top of the world sometimes. So they do lose a point for that. I will say, it is occasionally, like difficult when you feel bad as a med surg nurse, right? When they're like, oh, I'm obviously the best. But they are kind of the best. Then when you walk into the room and you're like, that's a lot of monitors. And that is why is that person's heart like literally not inside their body? So they gain a point back for being very smart and very task focused. But we will be putting them. Let's see what our chat is saying before we make our ultimate decision. You do have 1 to 3 patients at a time, which is more impressive. That's very impressive that you can keep track of that much of a body falling apart and keep them all alive. You do have that. I see you straight up Hermione Granger nursing. Yes, this is true. A little bit lacking maybe on the social skills. Hermione, I feel like was a little bit behind there, but very, very smart. You're all very brilliant. And I'm sure, I'm sure it's fine. B, we have a lot of Bs. I'm kind of agreeing on the Bs. I see you hardcore superheroes. Yes, but why do you got to make everyone go to bed? Boom, asleep. Can't be here. No. That's no. I see you when you want to care for people, but don't care for people. Oh, Aaron, we need that on a t-shirt. Please, someone make that a t-shirt. I see you A tier. We act like we're the best because we are the best. There's the confidence coming in. There it is. There we have it. You also only get 2 patients and get to know family if you have them consistently, bringing them back from the brink of death. Bringing people back from the brink of death, I will say, is very, very top notch. So maybe actually I'm going to give you an extra point because you do bring people like literally from the brink. And I cannot tell you the relief in my soul when I worked on either floor. So I worked on a med surg and a peds unit on like a step down or a general level. And when you hit the rapid response and then you saw the ICU people coming and you were like, thank goodness. you forgot that they were mean to you and talked down to you. So we will let's give them A. We'll give ICU people an A. Remember, you lost a point because you make everyone unconscious. And great, Scott's going to make the t-shirt. That t-shirt will be in the Nurse Scott t-shirt place soon. Perfect. I'm excited for that one. When you like people, what did we phrase it as? When you want to care for people, but don't care for people. That made my life. Okay, let's move you up, little ICU people, over to A. That's generous. I was going to give you B, but the chat convinced me. We've arrived at pediatrics. Now, pediatrics, I think we all know where pediatrics is going to land. Pediatrics is magical. The humans are so resilient. I went from adults where people were like complaining about things like, oh my gosh, I have to wear a nasal cannula. And then you go to pediatrics and my patients had 3 chest tubes, a completely like just freshly wired sternotomy. They were like running down the hallway, like full blast. I was having to catch up with them. Amazing little people. Peds, it's magical. You get to blow bubbles instead of using an incentive spirometer. They are so light. The poop is so small. You can I worked in babies mostly. So you can pick them up. All of you saying D, you're wrong. I'm not going to even beat around the bush here. Peds is S tier, and I'm just explaining to you why. You can't convince me otherwise. Yes, there are parents. We're not talking about the parents though. We're just gonna, and I would say most parents, we won't talk about the parents. Parents might rule in our S tier status. They mean well. I mean, I can't imagine having my little one in the hospital, but we're focusing on the children. And again, I worked in peds. Peds cardiology is like extra S tier, best ever. Let me tell you why. Because they get better. Most of them get better. Not all of them do. But in general, peds is going to be hard because in peds, you're either going to have random accidents. Yikes. Don't want that. You are going to have chronic conditions. So sad. Cancer. Are you kidding me? So much sad. And then you have pediatric cardiology where you get to see the kids grow up because they're going to come back and have a couple surgeries, but most of them get better and you fix them and they leave. Magical combination. Magical. Get to see them grow up. Everything's better. Brittany McDonald is right. All the rest of you are wrong. Peds is S tier. Oh yeah. Mel, S inpatient. Absolutely. D outpatient. Hated outpatient peds. Everyone was always like, why didn't you go become like a pediatric nurse practitioner? Hate. I can't rule out the parents for outpatient peds. I was like, I would not have the patience when parents came in and were like, my child coughed once this morning. Like, nope. And all the other sad things with it. So, yes, peds, if you love, children, making, just smaller, amounts of fluid, if you think that they're cute, if you, are kind of silly, if you want teenagers to be really mean to you, but you can like sass them back, also a good time. If you kind of want your heart trampled out and like stomped on a lot afterwards and then dealing sadness a lot later in life when you're like, oh, I think I have some trauma over that, peds, but still S tier because I loved it. Rationally, it's not. If I'm being totally honest, it's not actually S tier if we're really looking at this objectively, because yes, they crash really quickly and the parents, they can be a little bit difficult and it's very sad. And Chad said, Mr. Midwife, everything is so small, which makes it it's difficult. But we're going to ignore all of that. And very biasedly, peds is S. Okay. Peds is S tier. Shall we, move on? And they do crash so quickly, so quickly. I'm like, if you could just have a little bit more resiliency, that would be great. But yes, I was also very biased because I came from a horrible med surg floor to peds and it was just magic. Okay. Labor and delivery. Labor and delivery, I like the idea, right? I enjoy the idea of the magic of people having babies. I'm like, wow, that sounds beautiful. Until I realize that it's very messy. I don't know if you've ever seen birth. It's very messy. It's very, very messy and it takes a long time. So this is another one where I don't enjoy things in life where things are boring for a long time. And then you get to something and it is like the most unboring thing in the entire world. Hence why I would never, ever, no interest in ever doing like CRNA, anything, anything like this. Says now, Liz, think of your friends. Um, I will be very honest. I don't have the patience for labor and delivery because some people get into labor and delivery, I feel, and it is as if they thought this was going to be like a spa experience. And I'm like, you're having a baby. What did we think? What did we think this would be like when they're like, yeah, this hurts? But that is me. I'm a brutal, like not a brutal. I'm not the human who like coddles you when you're ill, right? That is my husband. My children are they're grateful that they have him because I'm like, yes, you're sick, but you're not dying. I am afraid that that would be my mentality in labor. Like, oh, it hurts. What did you think? Would you like an epidural? Let's go. I would not have the patience to sit by these people having babies, which is what everyone deserves. Everyone deserves to have, if you need like a tough love nurse, I would be there. And that would be 1% of the people. Like that's what I needed in labor and delivery. Someone to be like, you have a long way to go. You're going to probably need to wrap this up. And my second nurse was like that. And it was honestly great. But I think most people probably need like encouragement and love. Exactly. Not this. Mr. Midwife's like, oh God, no. Most people probably need a little bit of love and compassion and patience because that is what you deserve when you're having a baby because it's a pretty big life event. Yeah, we should not approach it with the attitude of, you think you're sick? I'll show you sick. Yeah, that's not what people need here. So very messy, very unpredictable, very cool most of the time. So it does get points because like that is very unique. I feel like in the world of healthcare that most of the time the job is good, right? It's not always good. We've talked about that a lot on this channel, but it does gain points for like, it's cool when it's cool. And it's cool most of the time. It's like a happy thing. But again, very messy, very dramatic, very dramatic. Very few other places. All of a sudden, you're like just laying there chilling in a bed, and all of a sudden, an entire flock of people comes in and it's like, you're having major abdominal surgery right now. Boom, unconscious, gone. Problem. Yeah. Emergency C-sections, pretty awful, pretty chill until it's not. And then chaos enters. So we're going to give this a C. You gain points, labor and delivery. I am sorry, nurse midwife, or Mr. Midwife. I just can't, I cannot. Too exciting or too boring, usually too boring, messy, and too many emergencies. We can't do it. You C tier. Gutted. But wonderful. Thank you everyone who does that. I don't know how on earth how you do it. Birth center, worse. Because people, again, remember how I deal with pain in other people? I'm like, come on, you can handle this. And I don't think they have epidurals in birth centers. So what would I do? What would I do? L, in case we're recapping so far on S tier, the best, peds. A is ICU. C, labor and delivery. And D is the people of the emergency room. Too chaotic. That's just way too much for all of us. And again, because it's the internet, we're obviously being very serious here. Okay, very serious. There's no fun being had, and none of this is facetious in any way. Next, we have labor and delivery nurse checking in, soon to be midwife. You're doing the great things. You're doing the great things in life, and we so appreciate you. If you enjoy, I guess we should list, everyone should definitely catch the live on Friday when we give a much less biased review of all of these, and people who work in these actually share what they do love about them, because all of these are wonderful for certain people. This is my list. That's why it's my list. And you wonder why we love our sedation so much. Pain, good night, boop. Exactly. I never disagree with you until today. Everyone has those days in their relationships. I understand. Next, we've come to long-term care. Okay. Long-term care, in terms of jobs, I think we're just going to go right in with D. Okay. We can discuss for a moment. We have, yes, this is my list, JB. This is my list. Long-term care, you have so many patients. You have like 30 or 40 or more patients. And I cannot, we've talked a lot about different legal cases of long-term care. We have a whole bunch of long-term care type of things. We all seem in agreement on this. Long-term care is the worst. D, F. I mean, F isn't even an option on here. D. There's way too many patients. They are also, let's be really honest, long-term care is filled with older people, right? I enjoy in a social capacity chatting with older people in real life. Older people scare me, okay? Because there's so much. They are on so many different medicines usually. They can fall so much. And it is just, it's a lot. They get delirious and confused at night. And that's more than I need to handle in my life. I would also get emotionally attached. And then, it's the end of life, right? And I wouldn't be able to provide the care that I would like to provide to these people. There's just not enough of them. So we are going to, I think we don't need to discuss that one too much. Long-term care, long-term care, D. No, thank you. Next. What shall we tackle next? Med-surg. You're up. Med-surg. Med-surg is, I did med-surg and I survived. And I feel like that should be a badge. I survived med-surg. There are higher patient ratios, right? In med-surg, your patients have a whole smattering of different illnesses, which gives you the chaos factor of the ER. But you have a little bit more predictability in that usually you chop out something. So usually they're not on telemetry. You chop out a few factors, but these people, they're awake. So if you're not like an ICU person, you're not going to like that. I like that they were awake. Some people could walk and go to the bathroom by themselves, but most of the people couldn't, which was a bummer. There were just too many of them. We didn't have enough people to help. They were confused a lot of the times. And it was sad because there was just not enough people to help them feel better, right? And it was awful. I did not like med-surg even a little bit. Med-surg is going to get 1 point. Okay. It's going to get 1 point in that I learned a lot and you get to see a lot. Okay. So if you are unsure what you want to do with your nursing career, it's a great launching point. But other than that, it is a lot of chaos and it's a lot. But if you would like to go and rule over a land, no one stays in med-surg long. Okay. So if your long goal is I want to be the queen or the king of the unit, and people are like legendary, where people are like, wow, this person has worked here for 3 years, and everyone's like 3 years. And in awe. In most other places at the hospital, that would not be very impressive, but in med-surg, it's very impressive. And you will have legendary status if you want that. Med-surg is for you. Learned a lot in med-surg, as did I. I learned what I liked. I learned what I didn't like. Those were very valuable skills. I learned that sputum, no, absolutely not, which was great because then when I was looking at other jobs and PICU, I knew that was too many tricks. That was going to be too much sputum. That was going to be too many respiratory viruses. No. We would not have had to know that. I feel like med-surg is the jack of all trades. Amanda, you're correct. You learn a little bit about everywhere. It's good. They move. AdCamp says there's too many and therefore they fall and they aren't on a monitor. Nope. This is very true. No one is monitored. You kind of just know people fall when all of a sudden a bed alarm is going off and then, boom, you're like, oh, darn it. Dang it. A little bit of everything, floors. Yes, that's great. I definitely learned a lot. It's a good learning opportunity. But otherwise it is kind of it could be a level of hell. So we will give med-surg. We will give you that level. We will give you a C. Okay. That's where we're going to land there. What shall we do? NICU. Brittany's going to say NICU is S tier. NICU is interesting, right? Because this is a bunch of itty bitty tiny babies who your patients are all very small. That's a bonus. A lot of other patients are large and that can be a lot more difficult to move. But in NICU, they really don't want you to touch them very much. They are very small, which is easier to just manage, right? Size-wise. Hopefully you will maybe have less back problems. I don't know. You could weirdly crawl over an incubator. The messes, the things that come out of babies, much smaller, right? like we had the same problem in pediatrics. It's more difficult, but the patients themselves are never going to bite you, kick you, hit you in a way that is likely going to physically harm you, right? We kind of can get that, even in peds sometimes. Toddlers are vicious, right? The patient is not going to be behaviorally the problem here. Your back will get out intact. Here, and you'll have a bunch of parents who are nervous, but very understandably nervous, right? And so I think, I don't know, it's very different than in peds sometimes when they've been, a parent they have for a little while, which is totally fine. Parents, you're allowed to be like very hovering and overprotective. That is in our nature. But when you're a NICU, when you have a new baby in the NICU, usually it's a different type of, there's less, the questions are more, I don't know, I don't want to say this in a way that's, the worst. The parents tend to be a little bit, in my experience, easier to handle. Someone let me know. I did work in a NICU a good bit at bits, in nursing school, and almost took a job. The NICU is like the one thing I didn't get to do that I wanted to do as a nurse, at the bedside. And I got offered a job in the NICU the day I found out I was pregnant with Piper, and I was also in grad school, and I was like, I just can't do all of this. But I had like shadowed there, and I did a ton of work in the NICU in nursing school. And the parents just seemed more chill. Well, someone let me know if I'm wrong. I could be totally off base. But the thing about the NICU, oh, see, Babati says the NICU babies are fine. I just can't handle the parents. So that might be wrong. The parents are scared and intimidated, so they tend to be cooperative. See, that's a good way to put, like, we don't want to say you tend to be cooperative, but there is less, it's just slightly easier in my opinion. Those babies, you are losing a point, NICU, because NICU babies are so volatile. I thought pediatric baby, like peds in general, like babies, they have a lot less reserve, so they get very dramatic. These babies, they go from you're like so hopeful and so like, oh my gosh, this is great, this is going to be fine, and then those babies like do a 180 and really put on dramatic shows very quickly. So they do lose a point here. But otherwise, NICU does seem like you've got the ICU component, right? So you got the wires and the tubes, but a lot of the babies are like awake. They're not necessarily like sedated, because they're babies. And so I guess people just don't feel like they're annoying, so they don't sedate them. I'm sure ICU nurses can tell me more about why this is happening. But I don't know. It just seems nice. The lights are lower. It's cozy. It just seems like a nest. Like you walk in and it's just kind of like nice and hushed. And if the babies were not so darn flippant with like their trajectory, you just can't trust them for like even 1 second, so they lose a point. But other than that, NICU, I would keep it there. It does also have ethical issues, in terms of like, just because we can keep you alive, like, what are we kind of doing here? Is this too early? What are we doing here? But in the light of keeping this in a slightly more lighthearted stream, the temperature is warmer. Exactly. You got to keep the temperature warmer. We won't go into that as much. But yeah, we'll see, since NICU is the only department that's actually a comfortable temperature. It's nice and toasty. It's warm. I don't know how you stay awake at night, because whenever I've gone down there, it's just like it vibes like, ooh, cozy snuggle. Don't know. Yes, but yes, and the ethics are definitely a big thing. That was difficult for me, as well as seeing a lot of. There's difficult cases anywhere in peds, and that was, if we were being honest with peds, we would have taken another chunk off, because a lot of the things you have to see are related to harm that was done to the child by the parent, or the person who was pregnant with them, and that is brutal. Absolutely brutal. But again, we're not going to talk a ton about that, but do keep that in the back of your mind for all pediatric type of things. That is very, very real and very harmful. And yeah. So ethics definitely takes some point off. If I wanted to go into nursing, I'd want to do NICU or psych. I forgot about psych. Dang it. And now I can't make a thumbnail. We'll just do an imaginary psych. Imaginary. Yeah. Mama Heart wouldn't be okay with it. Yeah. I never did it as a parent. So that's a very good point. So, NICU overall, small, overall a good environment and nice and cozy, very volatile though. So you're an A. You get to hang out with the other ICU people. Orderly, but very, very rambunctious. Shall we do the OR? The OR. The OR is the true place where you want to care for people, but don't care for people. Because here, there's like no chance, at least in the ICU, they try to wake you up sometimes. They're like, hello, can you breathe by yourself? Are you feeling, oh no, okay, agitated, bah, and they go back to bed. The OR, they just knock them right out. And they're like, all right, this is great. This is for people who enjoy more of the technical side of things, right? We don't mind like the things that, normal people, I dare say, would find really difficult to handle would be like sawing through bones or removing things from bodies. These are people who are like, yes, I will do that. And then I will go eat lunch. This is totally fine. You have to be a tougher sort, I would say, because I think we all know surgeons are just the peaches of the world. Everyone loves surgeons. So if you have a tough skin and you don't mind, I think it just reminds me of like a harsh, sterile world, because it is a harsh, sterile world. So if you, again, want to care for people, but don't care for people, then the OR is for you. This would not be enough patient involvement. A lot of the times, I will be very honest, a lot of the like nurses, I think everyone knows they can be a very catty bunch. I don't want you to be the primary people that I interact with. Okay. I like talking with patients. So if my only people I'm talking to are other surgeons and nurses, yikes. Right? Yikes. So yikes. Pros, you do have less dirty work, right? So most of the time, like there's a lot of code brown situations, right? There's a lot of there's messy humans who are in the hospital are very messy, and a lot of it comes out of them. The OR is very clean. We kind of just hook tubes into everything and everything is whisked away. And that's nice. I would imagine that your back is probably happier if you're an OR nurse, right? Because you're circulating, you're making sure all the things are happening. You have to be organized. You would have, but you're handing instruments. You're like helping in that way. So maybe your back is your back happier. Maybe. I don't really know what kind of damage your fingers and toes have, but they must have damage because it is so cold in the OR. Kind of cold, maybe like just that little part of your soul that's a little bit dead that led you to work in the OR. Your job is also one that is, it might get boring. I don't know. Does it get boring and repetitive? My mom worked in the OR. She really loved it. I wouldn't like that you can kind of get thrown to the mercy of like random surgeons and you can get bounced around to a whole bunch of different people. And that's a lot of standing. I do require sitting sometimes, especially like I can't stand in one place. I need to like at least be walking. And I feel like you might get stuck standing. That's not great. And weird hours. Yeah. I don't want to go and get stuck going to work and then like no one can come in to my surgery and like replace me. Like I want to go home at like a normal predictable time, which could make that very difficult. And yes, I'm not very tidy. So the need to maintain sterility would drive my brain crazy. I don't want to be conscious of every move I take. Aaron says, yes, I agree. And I am klutzy. I am a hot mess and I would be the one. I don't want to have those conversations and be the one where they're like, oh my gosh, Liz broke sterile field again for this, like in the last hour. That just doesn't sound like a good time. And that would be my life. I knew a nurse who went into renal failure because she couldn't leave to go to the bathroom. Yeah, that's not good. We don't like that. My mom had issues with labor, like went into preterm labor with me because she couldn't leave the OR. They wouldn't let her leave. She's like, I think I'm having contractions and I'm dehydrated. They're like, you're fine. She wasn't. She had to go on bed rest for like ever. Yikes. For me, the OR got really boring, too much standing in the same spot for hours. Yeah, that would be me. I'm like my endless need to fidget. I feel like wouldn't go really well. Like they're doing neurosurgery and I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Like I don't feel like I would bring that calming presence that they would probably need. And the knees, that's true. How are your knees, OR friends? We don't know. So, but it has it's a lot less messy. There is order. I don't know, but it's just boring, isn't it? Right. Like, so should we give you a B? We don't have a B yet. Let's just put the OR. let's put you in B. Hold on. I have to switch out my headphones because it's telling me I'm dying. We have to switch out headphones. That way you don't all hear weird clicky bits. All right, now we should probably make sure. Okay, good. Nothing happens there. Okay, yes, we need some in the B category. I agree, Erin. So there we go. Hello, OB nurse Chelsea. Don't just skip over the part. I think it was the second or third one we reviewed. Just skip right on by labor and delivery and you'll be fine. And this. And did you die? that we have there. Okay, so let us see. S rank stands for, what did we say? Special? I think it's super. S is technically the best. S is the best. I didn't make this rank list. I don't know who made tier lists. Was it Gamers? Superior, maybe? I don't know who made these lists, but we're just yanking it off of the internet where everyone's doing tier lists lately. Shall we go and move on to oncology? Oh, oncology. Can you even like roast oncology? I don't think you can. Oncology is, so I did a lot of my precepting for nursing school in oncology, and we'd had a lot of oncology patients actually on my med surg floor. Make that make sense. You're like GI bleed, because we did GI, liver, kidney stuff as well as cancer. And we were like, this is the world's worst combination. You can have someone who is literally having just like all the poop and confused next to someone getting chemo. Make it make sense. Anyway, I found people in oncology, the patients, to be very kind. They were very appreciative of everything you did for them. Their family members were very appreciative of all the care that you gave them. The population was incredibly kind. It was predictable in the way that you could really get to know your medication. And we have learned that I like predictable, right? I like to learn, here's what these medicines do. Here are their side effects. You kind of had when you were in like bone marrow transplant, you knew when things were getting worse, right? And it was expected. You were like, oh, this is going to suck. This is going to suck. We're going to hit this point and it's going to suck even more. And then it's going to hopefully get a little bit better. And when it was good, it was so good, right? But when it is bad, it is so, so bad. And I would not be able to do the bad, right? I would not be able to do the sad. One of the things that was the hardest for me on my med surg job was all the cancer patients. We had a lot of pancreatic cancer that would come in, a lot of kidney and liver cancers that would come in. And it was so, so sad. So I couldn't do it emotionally. But I think the type of care you can give, you can offer a lot of comfort to patients. You are able to, there's a huge, Flor says extremely trusting. Yeah, there was a huge trusting relationship. And I really felt like for my cancer patients, I was able to provide care that was actually helpful, right? Not that, I don't know, sometimes it felt like your other stuff like wasn't as helpful, and this was like helpful and they really appreciated it. And it was just, but also so wildly difficult. And yes, and if we're being really honest, you might lose half a point because sometimes your nurses are really mean. Okay. Sometimes the nurses, which I get, like, you're seeing a lot of like very sad things, but at least at the hospitals, maybe this was just my hospital thing, but the nurses that worked on the strictly oncology units were like not kind if you had to float to their unit or if you ran into them somewhere in the hallway. Like I knew a lot of people that went to go work on those units and those people changed. Okay. The people changed and they became kind of like catty and like treated you like an other. And I don't know, maybe they're in maybe it's like a grief response, but it was kind of sad and it made me sad. But so for that, we're going to put oncology in, let's put it in B. It has the best of both worlds, but it is also very sad. What do you guys think? Where do we put oncology? Some of my nurses were tough cookies. Yeah. And chemo is dangerous. Yes. Chemo is not, there was a lot of precautions and a lot of this is hotter. There is a lot of ethics of oncology patients are still treated even when they should be in hospice. There is a whole bunch of that. We're going to be talking about that soon-ish on the channel. I'm researching the Canadian law that passed of like end of life care. And I think we do a ton of care in this country where we keep a lot of people living, but we are keeping them alive, but like, what is their life? Like really, like what is that quality of life doing? And there, yeah, B is fine. Okay, good. JP, I'm glad we got, I'm glad I have your approval. B is fine. This is fine. So we're going with B for oncology. Let us see. What do we have next? Let's do dialysis. Dialysis. Dialysis, I have questions for you. So, and this is from an inpatient perspective, maybe outpatient. I don't know. I have much less experience doing outpatient dialysis. I really can't speak to that. So I'm going to be coming from the perspective of inpatient dialysis. And that's where we are. I would send people to you dialysis, hemodialysis. And they came back a mess when I worked on the floors I worked on. I would send people and they would like, I don't know what happened, but they would come back and they they were just like physically a mess. Things, I don't know, they were like disheveled. I'm like, what happened here? They're like, well, they didn't touch me. Like what happens in hemodialysis? I don't know really. So hemodialysis, if you are unfamiliar, is you go when your kidneys aren't working and they basically suck all of your blood out while you're awake and then they spin it through a machine that cleans it. And because when your kidneys aren't working, your kidneys are the filter of the body, right? They like process through and they're ripping all the stuff out that you don't need. You can add stuff back in with dialysis. You just clean it out. Basically, it's like your kidneys, but it's outside your body. I don't know what these nurses do. I'm sure they do a lot. I'm sure they do a whole bunch. But from the perspective, from the perspective of a floor nurse, we don't know what happens when you go to hemodialysis. You do some sorcery, which is very impressive. So you get a few points there. But you lose points because I'm like, where? Why is my patient covered in what is happening? Their med schedule got all messed up, which is really not any fault of the dialysis nurse. And they came back a lot less confused, So I don't know what dialysis looks like. This is by far one of my most uninformed ones, but my most judgmental ones. Yeah, patients and people would just go there and crash, probably because we're sucking all of your blood out and like spinning it around. It seems boring though, if we're being honest. Granted, I know almost nothing about this, so obviously I should be talking about it. Right? You just kind of like take it out and hit a couple buttons. Can't be that hard. Just kidding. It sounds impossible. Yeah, I don't know how you do that. CRRT I know is very similar, like in the ICU, and that machine is very intimidating looking, like pretty much enough for when I was interviewing in the PICU, I like looked at the CRRT machine and I was like, I don't know if I ever need to be a type of nurse that knows what to do with that. I don't know if that is where my journey is leading me. I think I might be going in more of a patient talking to method versus needing to know what that machine does and how it works. I imagine that dialysis is very similar to that. It's probably when they came around with like the fluorescentis, whatever that, is it fluorescentis? Something, some other crazy things. Yeah, CRT, fun times. No, not even a little. Dialysis is boring as outpatient, same patient, same chair, and same time, 3 days a week. That's what I mean. I just think it seems like it could get very repetitive. And then we have the same problem of like all of a sudden it's not repetitive, unknown. So I'm going to put you in C. I feel bad giving you a D since I don't know anything about you. But yeah, solid C because it seems boring until it's not. There we are. Our dialysis nurses are usually ICU dialysis float. That's interesting. We had a whole dialysis unit. It was attached to, I forget, it was like in the back corner of one of the ICUs. Very odd. Very, very odd. It was weird. Let's do home health. Shall we do home health? Home health is cool that you get to make your own schedule, right? We have to give it props that usually on a home health assignment, you're giving a patient panel and you're like, hey, you have to go see these people, make an appointment time with them. And as long as you see them, I don't know, during the week or however many times you're supposed to see them, you're good. You kind of get to make your own thing. You have time in between. If you have to, it's flexible. It's great for if you have other stuff going on and you need to hit kids drop-offs and pickups and you want to be able to be there for the school plays and the yada, yada, yada. Massive con is you have to go to people's houses. And that that can be very interesting. That can be unsafe. It can make you feel like, oh, this doesn't really feel super safe to me. It can probably not be up to the, you're in this like people's houses who probably aren't feeling great, which is why they have home health. So it's not going to be like a sterile, clean environment. So this is like, oh, for those OR type people who, like, as I was describing that as like, it's a sterile, like cold as ice, like your soul environment. And they were like, yes, this is not for those people. Okay. This is just not. I imagine you see some things. It would be sad, I would say, right? Because you're seeing people, you can only do so much as a home health nurse. And you probably want to do more. Like, you're seeing all these other issues that are like piling up, but you just like can't do a whole lot. Home health just seems sad, right? At least on the patients that I have had who have done home health, like I've always been like, that's like, oh, like I wish we had a lot more resources to do types of things. It would make it more real. Like, it was so much harder to see my patients as a primary care person when I saw them in their own home. Like, I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're like really a real person. And this is really very sad. And your walls are filled with pictures of you like when you were feeling better and when you were younger and like you have a whole like life. And now I'm seeing you like this, and this is very sad. I feel like we would have a lot of this." Natural says, I have a fear of being trapped in someone's basement as a home health nurse. Yes. Yes. See, that's what, yeah, that would make me nervous. Devin Hunt says home health here and love it. Let us know what you love about it. And then we will vote on it. But what are we thinking for home health, friends? What are we thinking? My grandma had an amazing home health nurse. And this is another, like, a benefit of it, right? Is you have a really cool opportunity to be a really stable, constant, awesome person in someone's life, right? You're going to form almost like you're going to form a long-term relationship. So if you're someone, if they need like home health for a while, if you're someone who wants to like get to know people and really see them and build that relationship, build that trust, kind of like a primary care provider over the long term, this could be a great option. If you need flexibility, if you don't like bugs, maybe it's not for you. Yes, and recently, I was like, we're gonna make this a fun stream before the holidays. And we're like, except for the ethics part of things, which is really actually quite awful. And the fact, like Dan said, recently a home health nurse was murdered by a patient and his family member. I was actually going to cover that tonight. And then I was like, no, we need a happy week. We need a happy week before the holidays. And yikes. So maybe we will cover that when we get back. If you guys want, let me know if you want me to cover that one again. Trying to like balance things out with like, I want to raise awareness for these issues and these topics. But at the same time, all of the issues and topics are really sad, and I don't want to depress everyone. I I'm fine with it. But because that's where my brain always lived. I'm like, I don't want to like depress the masses. I was a home, Sandy says I was a home health nurse. I loved, I loved all of it, but some of the smells. Yes. All right. We're going in like BC. Genji says, the home health nurse taught her grandma how to do the insulin. See, and that's great. Like, you get to do those like really educational moments with people. Scott says BC. We'll, since we kind of destroyed Scott on the ER situation, let's go. This weird science guy says between B and C. We'll give this to Scott. Oh man, but now we have Adkempt on the other side. I was going to say, you guys each, I feel like, get to pull some sway. I really pooped all over poor Scott with the ER. So we'll give this to Scott and we'll make it a B. We'll give it home health as a B. Let us do, shall we do a very different direction and do aesthetics? Aesthetic nursing. Oh, Danny Dozier says, pediatric home health nurse here. I love it. Thankfully, all my homes have been very clean. Awesome. Very positive experience. You're welcome for throwing you a bone. We're trying. Yeah, so some people have had positive home health experiences. And I think my friends that do home health, like what they really love about it is the flexibility of it. They like getting to know people long term, and they love the flexibility of it. Because they can really easily balance that with a lot of other like life. Outcome says, fine, you get this one, I'll take the next one. Perfect. Perfect. So yes, Botox, JB. Let's talk about aesthetics. Is it even nursing? Well, there are like nurse aesthetic nurses, right? I think they can do like injections. This is becoming very popular. This is like I feel like what everyone is going and doing now that they're leaving the bedside because they're like, I'm burnt out and over it. A ton of nurse practitioners are going on and like opening like aesthetic practices. And you have a bunch of nurses who are getting trained. Hopefully, they're getting trained. I don't really know a lot about this, to be totally honest, because it's just not up my alley. Are going and doing like injections, so like Botox. I don't know if nurses can do filler. Someone who knows about this, please inform me. It is technically nursing. Yes, even if it is not traditional nursing job, like how we think of it, like this is a different new like area of it. So yes, it is part of nursing, aesthetic nurse, and it's amazing. There we go. John Doe. Yes, it's definitely nursing. The liquid nose jobs are so cool. A lot of nurses seem to be open med spas. Yes, they are. So yeah, lots of training provided too. That's awesome. You can make bank, right? They do they do filler. Perfect. Thanks, chat. I knew. Thank you, Academy, for always being here for the fanny pack, as we don't always know what we're talking about, but we still proudly and very confidently proclaim it on the internet. So I appreciate it. You get discounted Botox. They can do filler, lip filler, threads, Botox, all of those things with appropriate training. Just be careful, where you go and who's training you and all of those things. But yes, you can do all of those things. And if you enjoy, I would imagine so this for me, I'm just going to be completely honest. This, and you let me know what you think. But again, this is my list. So I might pull sway. This is D because I am just not that type of human. I don't want I am not into small talk. I am just not. I would not have the patience for something like this. It's not something that interests me personally. I very much, and I feel like people would be very prissy and like entitled coming in. I feel like there would just be this whole attitude of like entitlement. And I would be like, oh my gosh, like people would complain. Do people complain a lot in aesthetics? Maybe they don't. But in my mind, you have like all the Karens who come in and they're like, why I wanted this lip shape and you gave me this lip shape. And I cannot handle it. And I am not the remember we talked when we were talking about labor and delivery. I am not the coddling type. I am not let me make this a bougie experience for you. I feel like, hi, welcome. Why don't you like your lips? And then it would turn into more of like an existential pep talk. I would be like, oh my gosh, like, but your lips are great, like blah, 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 blah. Why, here's why I think you should like your lips. You're great. And I would be terrible for business because then I would just leave with like a pep talk about why they're actually great. And they were like, Liz, you can't just like do this to all the people. I would be sad about how much, like, I don't know, I would have I'd be like, we could use all this money to go and spend it somewhere else. But at the same time, like, which would be terrible. I would just be sitting there thinking like, oh my gosh, like this is so expensive. Do you know how much insulin that would buy? But that's unfair because you're allowed to do whatever you want with your own body, right? And if you would like to spend money on Botox and do all the things, you do it, whatever makes you happy. But I'm just telling you, Liz's brain wouldn't be able to shut that off. And Liz would be trying to give people pep talks and talk them out, like trying to give people pep talks and then being like, do you know how expensive this is? And it wouldn't be good. Walks into med spa, sees Liz, runs fast. Exactly. Oh God, there's that lady that she just talks about how much insulin prices are. I would also be such a negative Nancy because they'd come in, they're like, I'm here for my relaxing experience. I'm like, can I talk to you about the downfall of nursing? I ran away from this job. I ran away from my bedside job because let's talk about patient ratios and how they're unsafe and our healthcare system is collapsing all around us. That's why we have so many aesthetic nurses who are working in here, is because everyone hates their jobs and was running away. And the person would be like, I just wanted filler and a little bit less wrinkles right here. And it'd be a terrible combination. So for me, I'm not catered to making people feel warm and fuzzy and taken care of on the inside. I am not here for a bougie human. I'm just not. That's like the opposite. They'd walk in and I'd be like, hi, I put my face lotion and my body lotion are the same. I just apply it all the way down. I don't know what highlighter is. I don't know what contour is. I've never done it. I know. And poor them. They just want their filler and they absolutely need it. Boho, you would be like my perfect clientele. I think maybe Boho, you would be the only one I'd be able to work with and totally engage in that conversation as my filler is injected. Yes. Absolutely. Went in for filler and left with a burning rage for the state of healthcare. Be like, you think you have wrinkles now? Oh, my friend, wait till you leave. I'm going to give you rage lines. Yeah, probably. I'm going to give it a D. It wouldn't be a good fit for me, but maybe it would be a great fit for you. A lot of people are getting into it. You can make a lot of money. It looks very flexible. And if you are into a more like, if that's your jam, people love it. Highlighter, the thing I use on my report sheet. Perfect. Exactly. The same. I'm like, wow, yellow? It doesn't look yellow or pink on everyone else. That's interesting. We gave it D because I would be terrible at it. Remember, this is my list. For many people, they would love it. Someone had said, are we doing, let's see, which ones we have less. It would be less stressful, I would hope. I mean, unless you like hit a nerve, then it would be very stressful and repetitive after time, but also like different because it's like an art form, right? So if you're creative and you want to like do art on people's face, that would be have. Do you have case management in there? Emily Pareto says, interview tomorrow. Oh, exciting. I do. Case management. So first of all, good luck on your interview tomorrow. You're going to do great. They're lucky to have you. Enter with that energy. Just, enter. I heard something. I don't even know where I heard it. Maybe it was on a podcast. Was it on the Elise Myers podcast? It might've been, where they said, approach interviews with like, polite boredness. It might've been, I think she was interviewing the people, the office ladies. And one of them said that her mom's advice to her was in all interviews, just approach it with polite boredness. Like they are blessed to be in your presence. Like you don't really need this. You could have this job if you wanted it. You could have it, but you're doing them a favor of allowing you to be interviewed. Enter with that energy, polite boredness, polite boredness. So we're going to go in with that. So case management, if you're not familiar, is basically you take patients and who are usually a little bit complex. Maybe they need to go home on home care. They are going to require a lot of these other services that we've talked about, and you need to combine it all, right? You need to help them get their medicine, get the home care nurse there. You need to get the oxygen delivered. You need to set them up with their appointments, figure out if their insurance is going to cover this, how they're going to pay for this. You need to figure out this whole plan for people, and case managers do that. They coordinate with an entire team, and I used to call them my magicians. I don't know how they do it. Okay. You have to be very organized, right? We all know I have the executive function of a squirrel. I cannot hold 8 things in my mind. I can't hold 2 things in my mind at once, let alone different patients, let alone try to make I'm very good at puzzles, like jigsaw puzzles, doing very well at my jigsaw puzzle advent calendar. Highly recommend if you love someone who likes to jigsaw puzzle. I would be so bad at this job, like so epically bad. I'd be like, good luck, my friend. What's the worst? Like, well, we're going to cross our fingers, and I wing everything in my life. And this is absolutely the thing that you should not be just like wing it human. And yes, Boho, it usually does come together, but I don't want to risk other people's lives on that. So case management is great. If you like to take a whole bunch of pieces and be like, I can make this chaos into like a streamlined thing, and I can do it for like 50 people at the same time when we work in a system that does not want people to get better or to pay for it. So if you are up for a challenge, that's that. The positives are you are not going to be cleaning up bodily fluids. You may be able to work from home. A lot of people work from home with this. You are going to be you're going to get a much better idea of like how the healthcare system works as a whole, which is going to give you different, like a lot of people I feel like jump from like case management to like management type of or different things. So if you want to just get away from the bedside for a minute and more like put the puzzle pieces together at a job that is less physically demanding, this is going to be great. Says they're afraid, case management, but I am afraid to try it. You can always go back and try other things. Change your mind. Yeah. Problem solving. This is great for people who like love problem solving. That's where we have that. Let's see if anyone, Emily Pareto says, all the case managers have sung praises to the supervisor, so I feel quite confident. Perfect. You're going to rock this interview. And I'm going from the Wild West, AK Med Surg. Yeah, that'll be a good adjustment. I feel like anything after med surg. We all know how I feel about med surg is good. Yeah, I think it's interesting. So, let me know if you have ever, uh, done any of this. Please do let Emily know what she should know before she goes into it. I am going to give case management a C, mostly because it is, well, for me, it would be my nightmare. I do like that you could work from home. I probably could figure it out. I'm quite familiar with the healthcare system and how to navigate it, but good Lord. It wouldn't be good for those people. I'd be like, I'm sure it'll work out. Case manager does seem very, very cool, just not for me. C for stress. That's true. Yeah, C. And it's very stressful. There's way too many. I'm sure they give you way too much of a caseload. Emily, just block your ears. I'm sure it'll be great. It will be better than med surg though, and no one will poop on you. You'll enter back into like the type of work where like if someone poops on you, it's a bad day. Like versus that's a much worse day. Someone die, like, we're entering into like, did anyone die? Like, no, that's a really bad day. A much more normal type of job, like, like my husband, where he would be like, sometimes I would say things. He's like, Liz, if anyone at my job experienced anything you experience ever in a day, it would be the worst day of their life and they would quit. And I was like, oh yeah, that's just, Tuesday. Let us do palliative care and hospice, shall we? Palliative care and hospice, I feel like is possibly, if I go back into practice, uh, as a nurse practitioner, where I would go. So I think we all know where this scoring system is going. I love that. So palliative care also and hospice are not the same thing. We'll have a little lesson. Palliative care is all the different services and care provided with someone in order to make their life more comfortable and better if they have a an illness that they will have for their entire life. This is going to be anything that is to make their life better, right? Hospice is care at the end of life. So usually in the last 6 months, this is when death is in the foreseeable future. You can be on palliative care for a very, very long time. And it kind of in some places encompass it, like you can then transition into hospice, but they're very different. And please, if you are in a situation where you are in charge of care, if you are a case manager, get palliative care involved with everyone who possibly can get it, because they can pull in so many great resources, not only for the patients, but for the people who care for the patients, and get them services and therapy and support. And it's just, oh, I love palliative care. In case you can't tell, I love palliative care. I think it is a phenomenal place to be able to actually care for people. A lot of not all, palliative care and hospice still has a lot of struggles around it, and they don't have all the resources they need. But since we are going more for comfort measures, a lot of the restrictions can be pulled off, and I feel like you can do a lot more. Palliative care nurses have a lot more autonomy. They're able to make decisions that really make impactful choice, like things in their patients' lives. There is slightly less, you can treat people's pain usually a little bit easier, hopefully, because you're not worried about long-term things like addiction and things like that. So I feel like you do have a little bit more power to actually do the caring side of things if you're a human who wants to care for people who are awake and conscious. And there's also I think working in med surg, especially the unit I worked on, was a lot of people died. Just so many people died. I probably took care of one person a week that died, which was very high for a med surg unit. And we provided a ton of palliative care on that unit. And I found a lot of fulfillment in providing end of life care to people and making someone's passing like a peaceful and as calm as possible event. So personally, I would give palliative care S tier and hospice, because I found that with my own patients when I was and working in primary care, the resource, they were just so helpful. I felt like I made a huge difference. It was very sad, but I found that to be more of not an expected sad, but this was a sad that we could not do anything about, and I could handle that sad. Sometimes there were absolutely heartbreaking cases, like just heartbreaking cases, um, that I worked on med surg, younger patients, things where it was like so fast. No, 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 nope, nope. We're gonna nope out on peds hospice. That's a big no. But uh, I I think it was the sad was not going to change, right? The thing, and I could help that in a way. The thing that broke me, I like in primary care, was that these people could get help. Like the thing that made me so sad there was I could help you, but you can't afford it or your insurance won't cover it. And that was a fixable situation that I was not able to access the resources to fix, versus hospice for some reason, and palliative care was like, I can't fix this, but I can make it the best as possible. So for some reason my brain categorized that different. Um, Natural said I did a hospice clinical and cried every time a patient died. I was like, that's not pathetic in any way, Natural. That is you being human. And patients need to see that too. I think there's a line of like not being hysterical. I think that's transferring, like asking like them to comfort you, but showing emotion in it I have cried in front of um, so many patients, especially outpatient, when my primary care people came back to me, or a patient who had been on our unit inpatient for a long time. Cried so many things. I've been to a lot of funerals. I think that's okay to show that side of it, but just not getting hysteric. So it's never ever pathetic. Never ever pathetic to show emotions. The part where maybe we could just go to a little therapy and work on is just to the point of comforting you. And that comes with time, right? You don't want the family member to have to feel like they're comforting you. But yes, showing emotion is fine. But yeah, I couldn't do peds. No, no. No, no, no. We can't do that. Yeah, I think boho does come back to more compassion versus like I have a lot of compassion for them and I want to help. I think M said, aren't most palliative care nurses religious? I think some probably are, some probably aren't. I think this would be the same as with all patients who are passing, whether or not you as a provider or a person are religious, you can still be there to like support people if they are or aren't, if they are, like, okay, do you want, like, I'll sit and hold your hand and like, if you whatever you want me to do, like, we'll do. It doesn't necessarily, it doesn't have to be your religion or your whatever. If they ask you to participate in it with them as a comfort measure, I've never found that to be uncomfortable. I've had to ask a lot of times. I was like, I am very happy to do that with you, like, and offer that in this way. But like, I'll be very honest, I don't know. And usually someone was more than willing to come in and step in, a family member or someone, to say like, oh, this is what this is, when they're asking for that. You know what I mean? So we have that. Yeah. And I think a lot of people are sharing, all the like experiences they felt in terms of like emotions, in different situations. And yeah, actually, I think, done a whole episode on like going from situations that are where your patient literally like, dies, and having to like turn around and handle that emotion and then immediately get like an admission. It's a lot. It's a whole lot. A whole lot. Jazzy said it actually taught me how to deal with people. Generally, most people lash out in high stress situations. I've taken that into other areas of care. Yeah, I think palliative care has a special place in my heart because, like I said, I feel like you can really make a difference there. Very, very, you get to really like do the caring for people in palliative care, where a lot of barriers are then taken away. So we're going to give you S tier. There you go, right up there with peds in my very non-biased list. You guys let me know what you think. Let us see. Elle said, I'm so grateful to all the palliative nurses my family has encountered. Never a bad experience. Yeah. And I think palliative care too, a lot of people go into it when they've been working in like nursing for a little bit and they realize that's what they want to do. It's not somewhere where people usually go immediately and feel stuck. I'm sure some people feel stuck, but I think most people who work there really want to be there. Oblio said, I found that it was an honor to sit with dying patients in general, but especially the ones that didn't have family. It is like one of the most meaningful and like out of body experiences to like sit with someone as they're passing, when you're that only person in that room and you're able to provide like comfort and just like be there to witness it with them. I said one of the few times I've lost it on a doctor was when a patient was suffering due to pain. Yeah, and you have a lot of control in those situations. They lift a lot of barriers related to like writing prescriptions for getting controlled substances for pain management is just so hard coming off of the opioid crisis. We've like gone, in my opinion, like way too far in the other direction because so many people who need help controlling pain now can't get it. But in palliative care, usually people are more willing to provide resources for that. So that can feel a little bit more like freeing. And those people are very lucky that they had you to help advocate for them. And that is immense. Yeah. Montana Gal, yes, and to witness a peaceful death. Yeah. I had no idea. Like that was just one of the like for all that I complain about nursing, one of the uh really I've learned so much from it. Like just so much from it. And one of those things is how uh different, right? You can help create a death experience. And how different death can be, right? Like you can really have a beautiful death, right? And like be able to witness that. And I just had no idea about that going into this. So you guys are really doing a really good job at keeping this very lighthearted. This is gonna be lighthearted and fun. And we've hit like every heavy hitter. Liz, this was a terrible idea. What were you thinking? Let's go into something that makes us mad. Okay. Management. Being a nurse manager. um, being a nurse manager, immediately F. Not even an option, immediately F. If you enjoy inflicting pain and suffering and are nitpicky about whiteboards and things that just don't matter, and are kind of the villain, maybe you'd like to be a nurse manager. I'm sure there are nurse managers out there. I'm sure there are nurse managers out there. There are great. I think most people probably L. You're right. Just how far Z negative. Boho says I hated being a manager, and yeah, I'm out. I think being a manager, I feel bad. Like honestly, like nurse managers, and I very much am like this, get a horrible rap. Mine were not the best. They felt very out of touch. I think some of them probably are that way. However, also what they have to do, and Boho, I'm sure you can probably attest to this, is the things that nurse managers have to do. They're trying to make an impossible situation better, right? They're not the ones usually making the bajillion dollars. They're not the one making the CEO money. They are making more than a nurse on the floor, but they are not the root cause of the problem here. They're getting the demands from the hospital and then having to convey those to the nurses. Some of them do it better than others, but you're being asked to do an impossible situation, staff this unit when we're not giving you the funding to be able to staff it, right? We are asking you to do the impossible with nothing, and everyone comes to you with their problems, which is not how I handle things. I'm like, please go handle that yourself. That is not my problem. Sounds like a you problem. Everything about being a manager sounds like my nightmare. You're the one who has to like, yeah, like make sure people are on top of things. Yes. Ignoring emails. You're supposed to like manage everything. Like, everyone complains at you. You're supposed to make the schedules. You're supposed to somehow, I don't know, staff units. It just sounds like absolutely awful. We don't like it. I don't think anyone has to be convinced. Does anyone like being a nurse manager? Emotional overload. Yes. This is a you problem. That would be my like solution to everything. They'd be like, "Oh my gosh, so and so's." I'm like, "That is a you problem." That's a you problem and you should definitely work on it. And that's not the attitude that you're supposed to bring to work. A la why I don't work on labor and delivery. This situation is a you problem. Not helpful. Not helpful. Not actually helpful. Jazzy Nurse is going to be a unit manager and is looking forward to it. I think like you're doing long-term care, I think, right? And I think this gives me hope that like people are excited about it because again, this is my list. This is not everyone's list. Some people love managing things. I am a task-oriented person. Like I don't want to be in charge of other people. That's just the worst. I don't like keeping tabs on things. Um, I hate all of it. I don't love that aspect of things. I'm like, give me my little job and I'll do it. And then I'll do 12 other things that you didn't assign me to do, but I will do anyway. But don't you dare ask me to be in charge of other people. Jazzy Nurse is going to be the, what is it? Not the dean, the director of nursing at a skilled nursing facility, which is super awesome. I think you're going to do a great job at it. And we need more people like you who want to do it, who aren't scared away by this tier list to go and do it. Because we need safe staffing in skilled nursing facilities. We need someone to advocate for patients. And just from talking with you so far in the chat, I think you're going to do that and it's going to be great. Will C said, manager routine, come to work at 9 a.m., reply to emails from 2 months ago, post or read, and sign, disappear for meetings, and then leave at 5. Accurate. You forgot the part where you go out and yell at people. Why didn't you write your name on the whiteboard? Like while the nurse is actively doing chest compressions. Yes, I have literally left a room and they were like, why isn't your name on the board? I'm like, why didn't you give a bed bath to room so-and-so? I was literally in a code. Well, you could have delegated that. I'm sorry that wasn't on the top of my mind. I'm sorry. Immediately F tier, but we have to do D. So there you go, D. Academia. Scott, were you saying something about academia? I might be making that up. Let's look at being a nurse educator, right? Going and being a teacher, and seeing how that goes. This I initially thought, right? I always thought I would want to do teach in a nursing school, right? So if you have your let's just say you can teach usually 1 degree lower than what you already have. So I thought this always sounded like a great idea, right? And then I started to work in academia like I am now, and I started to meet some of the people in academia. So this is going to be a mixed bag for me because I thought nurses were catty at the hospital. I thought I hated management at the hospital because they were nitpicky about stupid stuff. And it turns out that academia is very much the same, where you have people in charge who are making all the money, dictating it to you what you need to do. And they're being nitpicky about stupid things that don't matter. And everyone's in a cat fight about what class you're trying to teach and how they're going to teach it. And it's wild. It is wild seeing the veil be like pulled back on this and then learning how interconnected all of it is. And it's very much a who knows who situation. That being said, I love teaching. I love helping people break down really complex conversations and topics into something that's like a little bit more manageable. That seems like a great time. I like interacting with students. I feel like students are still so excited. We kind of lose some of that excitement when you go and you get your med surg job and you have like 12 million patients and you're like, there's a lot of poop here. There's so much eagerness. And Scott, yeah, I think you'd be a great teacher, Scott. There's just a lot of excitement, but Francis, 100% agree. Academia is packed full of mean girls. It's like an exclusive club and I hate it. Yes. So for that reason, we're going to put academia at, what do we think, friends? A or B? I love it. I really do. I have often pondered going back and getting my master's in like education, like nursing education. And then I'm like, wow, everyone is really catty and they don't like to getting tenure in a full-time position is like very political, like in their own political game, right? Within the institution. And it's all about favors and who you know. And I hate those games. That won't shock you because I'm just very blunt and no. So unsure. What do we think? A, B? A, B? Let's vote. Wish nurses could be kinder to each other. Yeah, me too. Me too. Also, nursing pay as an educator sucks, right? They don't pay you very much. Usually you're an adjunct faculty, which is like part-time, not a real like official teacher at the school, because they don't want to bring you on. They don't want to pay your benefits. They don't want to do all of that. Um, Liz, you could deal with the cattiness. Academia is annoying, though. I'd say B. I would be someone's worst nightmare. I would never get a full-time job because they would ask me things and I would just be very honest. And I would really not play their BS games. They would not make me very many friends. I agree. I think kindness would be make things great across the board. Why can't we do that? Huge turnover. Yes, you have a huge turnover rate for teachers at my program. Yes, because they don't pay them well and it's catty and you have to play the games to stay. The pay is disrespectful. Will I agree? And so no one wants to stay at a job where they're getting paid less. There's no hope of ever getting a full-time position with benefits. It just sucks, right? It just sucks. If you're shy, can you teach? Yeah, you just have to work on overcoming state like fear of speaking socially, right? But you can absolutely do that. Okay, so we're gonna put this firmly. Everyone seems to say B. Let's do B. We shall do school nursing next. Sorry, this is taking forever. Where are we? Oh gosh, it's been an hour and 20 minutes. I'm sorry. I was like, I'm gonna get through these so quick. And then here we are, an hour and 20 minutes later. You guys are troopers. We'll try to go through these last ones quick. School nursing. Too many issues that are not at all issues. Also way too much responsibility. I have a good friend that is a school nurse. Most of the stuff is very trivial. Other stuff is like huge where they show up and you have to like make the decision. Am I sending this kid? Like, do I need to pull their parent? It would give me endless anxiety to have to be like, do I have to have this kid's parent come pick them up? If that kid's parent is working, mega stress because I'm having them leave their day, right? That would just wear on me. I would, if it's, I feel like you would be dealing with mostly nothing like cuts and scrapes and boo-boos. Exactly. Boo-boos with band-aids. My mom did school nursing, but then the other things she had to deal with were like way too much. Like, and then you are the medical professional in the building, right? Like you are the only one. Problem, lice. That was on my list, Montana gal. Lice. No. Have you seen the memes where it's like the nurses and it's um I think it's Brad Pitt like smoking and he's laying there looking like super chill and he was like it's like oh like just acting like everything is fine. Um and it's like everything's fine like oh you're not breathing, that's totally fine, like you have 8 million tubes, like you're trying to die, that's fine, I will handle it, blood, poop, everything, and then it's like lice, it's like full suit. Full suit, hazmat suit. Yes. Yes, CPS is a thing, but the schedule, right? Summer's off, which is great, but you don't really get paid during the summer, so that's a problem. But I was also lost at lice floor. I was like, oh, bugs. CPS, yes. Abuse type things, yucky. And then again, like diabetic kids. So you have to be really good at your insulin. I did a whole kids camp for one of the more dangerous moments of in my life. I ran a kids camp in nursing school. I think we did it for 2 summers. I was one of the people who ran a kids camp for kids with type 1 diabetes starting at 3 years old. Um, and they would swim and do all sorts of things. And we taught them how to monitor. It was to like get them together so they realized like this was, there's a lot of other kids with type 1 diabetes and we have this. Yeah, that was a lot of small children who could not communicate that they were hypoglycemic before they jumped into a pool and like went unconscious. I imagine there would be a lot of that, calculating carbs. So could I? Yeah. Do I want to? No. Camp nurse. Oh gosh. Camp nurse. No, that's too, you need more people there to help you. No. Giving girls birth control and getting a call from their parents. No, thank you. I would imagine there's a lot of period stuff, which does have the aspect of education, right? You get to educate a lot about what is happening with your body and all of that. But I just don't know. Nell said just finished nursing school clinicals and lack the ability to do much would be rough. Nurse I was with was pretty much told she wasn't allowed to talk to students about health and weight and all of that. Yeah, your hands are kind of tied. There we are. Your hands are kind of tied, but yeah, I feel like it could get boring. And then when it's not boring, it's like really, really not boring. The lice gets me. The only person there. I'm not like Scott. Scott has talked, Nurse Scott has talked many times about how he likes to run into situations and save it with his little red toolkit. I like buddies, like buddy system for life. That's how I approached all things. I feel like anytime I was on the floor, I was like, hey, friend, if anyone was standing there at all, I was like, I will do something. What are we going to tackle for you? And then, oh, let me tell you what we're going to tackle for me. Come in and look at this human with me. Let's go. Let's go. So yeah, this is going to be it doesn't sound like the worst thing I've ever thought of doing, but I think I'm going to give it a C. What do we think? Do we think like a C? Is that where we're heading? That gives this former lifeguard anxiety. Yeah. And they like couldn't even swim because they were so young and they had type 1 diabetes and their parents were gone. Like, and there were so many of them. But it was also fascinating to watch these little kids teaching other little kids, like a 5-year-old teaching a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old how to count carbs and give themselves an injection. That was mind blowing. Absolutely. Check their blood sugar. Amazing. Uh, Rachel said, so you have them at a pool. Why? It was summer camp. We had a pool. I don't know why we chose, but that was a daily activity. Was it absolutely awful every day? Absolutely. Dreaded it from the moment I showed up, but we were there. C. Okay, good. We got C. Tough crowd. Oh, okay. School nursing, C. There you go. That's where I would put you. Let us end up with let's do I think this was research. Let's do research really quick. Unsure. Research is like the thing you do when you worked in the OR because you didn't like people and then you realized that the OR was too many people and you were going to need to take a step back and have less people. Research is where you go when that happens, where there's even less people and you love books and numbers and like you want to get as sterile as humanly possible. And you want more of a desk job, right? You're like, I would like to go and look at how things actually change, trends. Again, taking a bunch of aggregate data and making sense of it, my nightmare, right? Absolute nightmare. However, very, clean. You're probably not going to get very dirty. If you got to go out and research within the public, like be the person kind of doing the research, could be very cool. We have some research lovers here in the chat. To me, this sounds very boring. I'm like, this was always in like grad school when they were like, here we are with the research. I was like, oh, painful. Why will not, can't go back, will not go back to get my doctorate because I just literally cannot. Your research is when you have not gotten enough APA in school. I very much am glad we have people who love research. We need research. We are a scientific field. We need that to progress. But I would be with Jazzy Nurse. I would be asleep all the time. I would just be like, oh, wait, I'm so sorry. I can't take big picture things and see it. It takes so long for your work to pay off. Like I need immediate results, at least, or not immediate. I need it to happen within some foreseeable future. And I feel like research is so slow. No, I just can't. I can't do it. Nurse Scott would do it. He would go and do research is cool. I'd love to have a PhD after my name. Scott's going to be in school forever. Absolutely forever. This is me, Mr. Midwife, boring as hell. Like, I'm so glad some of you enjoy that, but no. Cannot do it. Would it be cool? Like I said, to develop cool new technology in nursing informatics and all of that things? Absolutely. Would it be cool? Would it be very baller to be like, yeah, I'm published. Oh yeah, I did that research. I actually did research in college. I'm published on papers that I have no privilege. I should not be published on, but since I was like a research assistant, because my undergrad degree is in psychology, I was like running the experiments on the people. So I'm on all these papers. And that's how I probably got into nursing school and grad school, if we're being honest, because I put those on my resume. I'm like, yeah, I did research in undergrad, AKA I put people in rooms and was like, what color does that make you think of? Okay, great. It's fine. Research is research. But yeah, if that makes you happy, then perfect. Yes, we've summoned Nurse Adrian. Hello, Adrian. How are you feeling? Are you feeling any better? Oh, she was so sick. If you guys have not seen the interview that Adrian and I did with Siobhan, what? My brain is going. Oh, we did a great interview with Siobhan. I think it's Siobhan. I'm forgetting her name right now. That's embarrassing. We did an absolutely amazing interview with a nurse from Scotland about like the NHS strike that was going on today and the other one happened a few days ago, what that is all about, nurses everywhere are just kind of, they're really screwed in terms of pay, but you should go watch that. You should go watch that. It is great. Yes, Siobhan. Is that how you say it right? Siobhan? I think so. Thank you. Thank you for being my brain. I loved the interview, by the way. Oh, thank you. She was amazing. She's a nurse, like advocate over in Scotland with the NHS. Amazing. She knew so much, absolutely so much, learned so much, like Jazzy Nurse said, about how that system works. It was amazing. So go watch that. That was a great time. So where do we put where are we putting research? I'm putting it as that sounds awful. I'm just gonna be honest. It's D. I would be asleep. It would just, I couldn't do it. Final. Oh, okay. We're going to make one up. Okay. We're going to do this one that I have on here. And then I forgot psych nursing because I'm dumb. But there we are. Siobhan. Okay. Perfect. That's what I thought. I was like second guessing it I was spelling it in my brain. I was like, wait, no, like how we're an hour and a half into a stream. So I can't do it. Oh, I can't do it. Nurse Liz and Nurse Mike from Simple Nursing would be an amazing duo. He's a cool dude. I've met him at some of my like conferences through Lecturio. He is way too cool for me. Way too cool for me. There was like one or two people who would recognize me and be like, "Oh my God, Nurse Liz." And there was a line of, I'm not kidding you, 75 to 100 nursing students who were in line for Nurse Scott. Or nurse, I'm sure they would line up for Nurse Scott, but for Nurse Mike, he was very cool. And I think I said like one thing, I was like, "Oh, hi." Something I tried to make a funny remark and I don't think he got it. And I just walked away in shame. So yeah, I've talked to Nurse Mike. I'm basically famous. He's very cool. I love his videos. He explains things very, very well. We have an outpatient specialty M. We have one. I'm lumping it all into one because, why not? We have outpatient nursing. We'll do that and then we'll do psych. Outpatient nursing in between, right? You get a lot of patient education. I really, really like that. I enjoy that. A lot of education. You get to know patients on the long term. You get to have a lot of like triage skills, which are kind of cool, where people are coming to you with a problem and you're deciding like, is this actually like a problem? How much of a problem is this? Where are we going with it? Am I going to like send this up to the next level or am I going to handle this on my own? You have standing orders you can kind of do. You have a little bit more autonomy. Tons of patient education, which we know I like, but also like can be tedious, right? Having worked in primary care, I know, I know that it can be a bit tedious, but the schedule, my friends, you're hopefully working, not nights. You're not going to probably be on call as a nurse in an outpatient facility. Probably don't have weekends. Your schedule is going to be a lot sweeter. Less bodily fluids, not none, less. A good gig. You probably have a relationship. You kind of get to know the people you work with really well, which we know I love. You would have the provider that you usually work with. And then if you have like MAs that you're working with and you're like your own little tight little knit team, I can see it going well. I'm going to give outpatient nursing either an A or a B. What do we think, team? Totally depends on the providers you're with. You're right. Totally would depend on that. I'm imagining working with I don't know. I was going to say myself. I would hate to work for myself. I would be the worst. I didn't have a nurse when I was a nurse practitioner because we were a tiny office, but my MAs like ran my life and they gave me so much crap and it was so deserved. And I was so grateful for them because they were like the type that just would call you on it. They're like, you are an unorganized mess and I need you to focus, Liz. I need you to focus and get this done and like do the thing. And, I would love that. I needed that in my life. So I would hate to work for myself. They're great women. They know who they are. But here we are. So if you worked for someone like, I bet Mr. Midwife would be a phenomenal person to work with. If you worked with someone like Mr. Midwife, who is just very caring, very like knowledgeable, very reliable, very steady, not squirrelish, it would be great, right? Absolutely great. Nurse Adrian says outpatient is broad, pay wise and benefits, etc. But I've never heard anyone complain about workload. Yeah, it's like, and it's less stressful. It's just like outpatient stuff, right? No one is trying to hopefully die, and such. So we're gonna put that on. Should we give it an A? Let's give it an A. Yeah, let's give it an A. Okay, there's our list. Oh, that's kind of nice. It's kind of like a little stepping stone pyramid thing. So obviously we missed some of these. We have psych, which I forgot to make a thing for. Psych, no, 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 no. I cannot. Too long didn't read of that one is no, no. I enjoy talking about mental health with my patients, but I'm not cut out for that to be the primary thing. I'm just not. We're covering psych now. I forgot to make a thing for it. Today school has ended for my children. Well, they're having like plays and stuff, but school's ended. So I am, and we don't have, when I was setting this up earlier, we don't have daycare on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Normally school is daycare, but school's done. So I was trying to do this like while parenting a 3 and a 5-year-old, things fell through the cracks. It's fine. Nursing is bottom heavy. OB Nurse Chelsea, I'm so sorry. You were supposed to skip that part. You were supposed to skip labor and delivery part. But yeah, psych, rough. I would probably put it down at, I wouldn't fail it. It wouldn't get a D because I do think it's very meaningful. And I think like I enjoy having those conversations with people. I think it could be very meaningful, but no. No. It would get a D. I think a C for me. I think a C. Acute inpatient psych has been the bulk of my career so far, and I enjoy adolescent psych the most. I think I would really like adolescent psych. We did a lot of psych on my on the peds unit I worked on, surprisingly, because they always wanted to put them on a telemetry monitor, even if they were there for like any kind of disordered eating, that made sense. But even if they weren't, we put them on a monitor. I don't know why. But that's where and I liked it. I liked talking to them. I just felt like I couldn't really help. So, OB Nurse Chelsea says, I see a correlation between the fanny pack members and where their specialties are ranked. This is my list, okay? This is my list. This is not personal. Oh, but in that case, Chelsea, I mean, you beat out Scott. So that's where we are. So sorry. If I went into psych, they wouldn't know if I was the provider or the patient. It just seems rough. I'm very grateful for people who do psych, but it's so different, right? Where the treatment is just very different. It's a long game again, and we know how I feel about those. Yeah, adolescent psych, excuse me as I like up my running shoes. I love teenagers though in healthcare. I loved having teenager patients. I never thought I would. Loved having teenage patients, loved talking to them about all the things, all the weird things, like all the things going on in their body. They just told you so much, and they would give you crap and you could like kind of give it back, and it was just the best. So I could see, I would like that. I'm sure there would be so much frustration with the overall system as well, in terms of how people got here, how there's nothing to really help them, how we don't have a lot of support to get them out and actually give them the things to get better. That would totally drive me insane too. I totally see that. Could we take a poll? We could take a poll of the nurses here and how much we love or not our jobs. Yeah, let's do it. And then everyone on Friday, we're going to do our normal group discussion, our normal fanny pack panel discussion. And it's going to be on your specialty that like you chose and why you love it, like why you chose it, to kind of end before Christmas on like a happy note. So panel fanny pack that is here, that's what we're talking about. If you can pop in, that would be great. And everyone else, if you want to learn more about, this was my list, obviously. This was my very biased. It was supposed to be funny. Okay. Hopefully we giggled like one or two times. It's supposed to be funny and lighthearted and just kind of a roast of every profession other than the ones that I love. And obviously there are so many benefits of all of these different specialties that like, and that's the like a cool thing about nursing is there's so many different areas that you can work in. And so you can find one that actually suits you and fits you really well. For me, Peds and palliative care, like not together. That sounds awful, but those two are my things. Um, Scott loves the emergency room because he likes that, like being able to see a billion different things and not know what's coming in next. Um, Chelsea and Chad love labor and delivery because they're crazy. And that's what they would like in their life. And we're there and they can come and talk about it on Friday and share what they love about it and what you love about your nursing job if you want to go chat over there. Okay, let me put up the poll. Start a poll. Do you like nursing? I'll just say, do you like your chosen nursing specialty? Yes or no? Hopefully that was the poll that you wanted. Montana gal. I hope. I hope. Like I said, insanity. Yes. Oh, and so yeah, everyone's entitled to their own. We'll see what it was. Let me see. Did we get any on PACU? Other people said PACU. PACU OR, same thing. It's kind of like we know how I feel about the OR, and we know how I feel about the ICU. So we have an A and a B. So it would be like a B plus or an A minus because it kind of combines those. The PACU to me was again something where very boring. Most people wake up fine. There's too much barf actually. The PACU seems like worse because everyone's waking up and they're mean. I take it back. PACU would be like C probably because people are waking up. They're not pleased, right? People who are waking up from anesthesia, they're like not the most cheerful. I wouldn't be cheerful waking up from anesthesia. They're throwing up from the anesthesia. They're in pain. They're confused. Things might have not have gone how we were like expecting. And then best case scenario, they get shipped off like to a unit, right? And then you're having to give a lot of report and the nurse is probably like overwhelmed getting this patient because they already have a bajillion patients. So then they're like cranky and they don't want to talk to you. Worst case scenario, they don't leave because something's not going well and that's an emergency. Terrible. I take it all back. PACU would at least be a C, if not a D. PACU sounds terrible. Absolutely terrible. But cruise ship nursing, no. Again, with being the only one. We're not a fan of being the only one that knows the medical things on an area with a lot of people at a school with a lot of children. We're not into it. Okay. We are not into it, even a little bit. So that's where we are. All right, friends. I'm sure some people in the comments will let me know where I'm wrong. Feel free to let me know where I was wrong. Hopefully this gave you a giggle. And we got our list going. If you want to hear more about what people do love about their chosen and given specialties, then we will be doing that on Friday. What time on Friday for the positive chat? Our inaugural positive chat with the fanny pack on my channel. It'll probably be at 3 p.m. Eastern. Is what I imagine. I have a pretty hard cutoff at 5 because I am traveling for Christmas. So I have to get in a car and whisk away. But so we'll probably do it at 5. If not a little bit earlier, I'm going to send out an email to the lovely humans who are usually popping in for that and see if they are available earlier. If we were to start at like 2. But I do want some of our usuals to be there to like, spout about their love for their profession and all of the things. So it's not just me because we already heard what I loved about my chosen profession. And maybe I'll do a poll too on check out the community tab and see I'll see when you guys are available too, because I want a lot of different people to be able to be there and just share what they love about their nursing profession and see. Flight nurses are the real rock stars. Dang it, I forgot flight nurses, Scott. That was literally when I came up with this idea yesterday. I was like, obviously, flight nurses are amazing. They're the best. So they would be above S. I don't even know where that would be. Flight nurses know everything. Those are the ones that get in the airplanes and the helicopters and they wear the suits and they just walk around like they own the world because they do. They can fix any problem, in my opinion. They know how to work with adults, with kids, with like NICU babies. They make like all the decisions. They can like fix you in midair in a square foot of space. There's nothing they cannot do. And they're the coolest people ever. in my humble opinion. I just massive respect. Can't say anything mean about them. They would come through the floors sometimes if they didn't have anywhere to go. I would just like fix all of our problems. So like, anybody need like an IV that you like absolutely can't get, or like want me to take a look at any of your patients? And we were like, oh my gosh. And they would just like fix them by their by their mere presence. It's like my husband with computers. I was fighting with mine for a long time this morning on a stupid issue. And he like literally walked to the vicinity of it and the problem vanished. I was like, that is, I don't want to talk to you. Go away. Go away. Jazzy Nurse said, I always wanted to be a flight nurse. Who knows? I'm only 30. I'm sure I could at some point. Absolutely. Absolutely. There is, I mean, I don't want to say there's so much career ahead of you, because that can be overwhelming and sad, but you have like 35 years, my love. We got time. We got time to do so many things. So many things. You can do it. Yeah. Massive love for flight nurses. I would love to chat with a flight nurse. But I don't know any. I'm not that cool. If any of you are flight nurses and you ever want to be on this channel, we can just basically, it would be the weirdest interview of your life. Very few questions would be asked. It would just be me and the chat like complimenting you the entire time. And it would be like a pep talk. So we would have that. Yeah, you cannot be motion sick in order to do that. But yeah, flight nurses are amazing. Absolutely amazing. We talked about aesthetic nurses, all the things. Okay, friends. Well, this was fun. Thanks for being here. I very much appreciate you. Who is Jenna Roxbury and Latina flight nurse? But see, Adrian, I don't know all of these people. I just follow them. Follow them on the social media. If you know them and they want a pep talk by me, we can chat, Adrian's how I like literally talk to anyone. She's like, oh yeah, I know them, because Adrian knows everyone. She's amazing. So yeah, thanks. If you enjoyed the video, do like it. It tells the YouTube gods that you enjoyed it. All the things. It tells them that maybe other people would like it, and all the goods. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. I hope you're hanging in there in this holiday week. I'm ready for it to be over, if we're being totally honest. I love the idea of the holidays. In application, it is stressful AF trying to, not Christmas itself, like that day is fine, but like all the school plays, all the like teacher gifts, everyone inviting you to like events. And I'm like, I'm an introvert. I don't want to do any of those events. I don't want to appear rude. I don't know how to get out of all of this. There's so much that so many people want from me. And I just want to lay in bed and read a book. But anyway, that's where we are. I hope you are doing better than that. And if you're not, well, then we'll have a nice chat on Friday and we'll boost your spirits. We'll be fine. And have a beautiful day. If you, I hope you always know, my friends, that you are not alone. You are more than enough, and you can do all the hard things. Bye, friends. Have a beautiful night.